Welcome to the Redefine Podcast.
Okay, happy podcast day. Happy podcast day to you. Welcome to the show if you're brand new. And of course, if you are an existing listener, welcome back. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a while. It's been about 2 weeks. Well, yeah, it's been 2 weeks exactly since I released my last episode here at the Redefine Podcast. A lot has happened since that last episode. Within that time frame, I lost a dear friend of mine in a tragic car accident, completely unexpected, involving a drunk driver. And it's one of those things that you just get sidelined by, right? Or not sidelined, but blindsided by. I know logically and rationally that the statistics of drunk driving are very high, and it happens much more often than it really should. But even knowing these stats, you never rationally think that it could happen to you, or it could happen to somebody that you love and care about, and somebody that's close to you. It's just the reality. It does happen, and tragically, a good friend of mine was taken from us, and it's one of those things that I honestly, I haven't really been able to sit and process fully, because right on the heels of that, the election here in the U.S. happened, and I'm not going to get into the details, but I will say that it did not go the way that I would have wanted it to go. It wasn't a shock necessarily, but there are just so many emotions there. It was just a lot. It was just a lot to process. And of course, those things on the heels of the hurricane here in Western North Carolina, and still dealing with, the recovery and the rebuild efforts, and just life being drastically changed by all of that, right? And so it's just been a lot. It's been a lot, one thing after another, stacking on top of each other, and I've just been too overwhelmed. And I know, I've talked about overwhelm before in the past, and it is very much a what feels like has been an ongoing theme since really COVID, right? Well, for me, since 2016, when the now president-elect was elected for his first term. It was just continually one thing after another. Just like, man, can things get any crazier? Pandemic, things closing down, and then recession. There's just a lot of stuff, and then tack onto that stuff happening in my personal life with business, seeing a sharp decline, the death of my dad last year. It's just like, when will we ever get a fucking break, right? And I know I'm not alone in feeling this way. As I was kind of following, not closely, but following the polls and the election, as the numbers started coming in, it was just like, man, I've had it, right? I've really just had it. And so I intentionally just took a break, right? I needed to step back and just reset, because the thing is, like, there was so much chaos and overwhelm that it's impossible to even try to manage everything, right? It's like everything's on fire and all you have is a bucket of water. You know what I mean? Like, it's impossible, and I know I would have felt more and more overwhelmed if I had tried to juggle all those different falling and spinning plates, and keeping all those things in the air. And so I definitely just had to reset. I had to reset. Now, I know that's not necessarily possible for many of you who listen to this show. Many of you have jobs and families that you have to tend to, and I get that. I totally understand that. I definitely acknowledge that I have the privilege of being able to take as much time as I need to do these kinds of resets. But I think one important thing that I can impart to you that I've done during this kind of reset break period of 2 weeks is focused really on the most important things, on as few tasks, and on as few things as possible that I need to focus on, right? Focus on only the most important and prioritize those things that really matter, right? Like that really matter to your day to day. Again, that's your job, that's your family if you have small kids. Taking care of really the things that matter and really the things that are important, and tuning everything else out, right? Like the politics and whatever nonsense noise that's happening, outside of your control. For me, it's focusing on these little tasks and getting them done, and counting those as wins, right? One task, that I focus on every day, and then once I have a handle on that, maybe adding another thing. I just added running again. I haven't ran. And if you listen to this show, if you've listened to this show or followed this show for any amount of time, you know that I'm an avid runner, but I haven't ran. And so, I finally was in a good enough space that I could add on something else. And so really that's what I encourage you to do. I don't have really a lot of advice or perspective for today's episode, but I just wanted to get on here and let you know that if you're overwhelmed, you're not alone. If you're overwhelmed by even just your own emotional states as a result of everything that's going on in the world and in the world around you, you're not alone. You're not alone. And I just wanted to share with you that I am in that, going through that. And what I've had to do is, again, I've had to take a break. I've had to kind of reset, reevaluate the thing, only the necessities, only the things that I needed to focus on. And I tuned everything else out. That included this podcast. I didn't have the bandwidth to, again, come up with material and record and produce and get it out on time. I just didn't have it in me. So I focused on the most important things, and you decide what that is for you. Tune everything else out, and then as you start to kind of feel less and less overwhelmed, add something else, right? Like I added running today, and then give yourself more time, add something else. Give yourself more time, add something else. And one thing that doing this will help you do is really help you refocus on what's important in your life, what's important to you, and that everything else that could be contributing to the disarray and the overwhelm in your headspace is perhaps not as important as it felt like it was. Now, I'm not saying that politics aren't important. I'm not saying that the things that current events aren't important, but really in your day to day, I want you to focus on the things that really matter to you the most, and tune everything else out until you can face and juggle all the other stuff that can contribute, that could potentially contribute to more chaos in your life. So that's it. Hopefully that helps. I'll get into more stuff in the coming episodes, but I just wanted to pop in here mostly to just say hello. I haven't gone away, but hopefully sharing where my head is at with you right now and what I've done will help you in the coming weeks or whatever it is that you're dealing with right now. Okay? All right, that's it. We'll catch you on Thursday this week with a fresh new one. So until then, be well, be safe. We'll see you in the next episode.